Hey everybody, welcome to a special midday edition. Normally we do the week ahead. This is obviously not the week ahead, but we did just have a special event midday in the market on this Wednesday. President Trump just concluding his presser following retaliation by Iranian forces in Iraq yesterday. Want to hit you guys with a couple of the highlights so you don't kind of have to listen to the presser yourself. We'll just hit you with those highlights, and then we'll kind of go over some sentiment about what Trump said, potentially throw out a couple ideas on how you can actually trade this. And just to say it, I am Brent Slava, head of our news desk, joined with Steve Orr. He's one of our senior vice presidents. Also, a little special cameo today. We're having Spencer Israel. He is producer of our pre-market prep show. And like I said, Trump just concluding that presentation. I'm going to hit you with about 6 or 7 highlights here from that presentation. So Trump right away, before he even introduced reporters in the audience to this presser, the very first thing he said was, as long as I'm president, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. He referred to, continuing there, he referred to Soleimani, who was just assassinated last week or a couple weeks ago, as a top terrorist. He highlighted that he was responsible for atrocities. He noted that he was one of the trainers, I guess, for Hezbollah. He said that he should have been terminated a long time ago. He said that this assassination should send a message to terrorists that they will be paying with their lives if they continue to challenge democracy. He said that Iran appears to be standing down. He talked about the Iranian nuclear deal. He said that China, Europe, Russia, other countries must start to break away from that nuclear deal. He said that today he is going to ask NATO to become much more involved in the Middle Eastern process. He also said that, and this is kind of getting to the end of his presentation here, his presser, he said that the US does not want to use their military strength. And to conclude the presser, he spoke to leaders and people in Iran, and he said, we want you to have a harmonious future. And he said that the US is ready to embrace peace for all those who seek it. And right when the presser concluded, S&P 500 futures rallied about 15 points here, very big rally. And just for a little bit of perspective, let's keep in mind that our all-time high in SP 500 futures is 3263. We hit 3262 just a moment ago. We're just 1 point after all-time off of all-time highs. You know, as some would say, we have war on our doorstep here. So I want to bring in the other guys here. Big B, what did you think about the Trump presser? Can you share any sentiment on what Trump was relaying to the U.S.?
I think it's a good question, Brent. One of the things that I always like to say is referring back to history. When we talk about politics, history is important here because how did things happen in the past, how they affect trading, and how they'll affect trading in the future, right? And so Teddy Roosevelt thinks that at best, speak softly, carry a big stick. We just saw oil breaking right below the $60 handle here on WTI on the February contract. When things are good, I expected Trump last night to come out and speak, and when he didn't do that, they flipped the algos on the buy signal. This morning, we opened up a fairly flat, a little bit down to flat, and after that speech, once again, up it goes again. So this morning, obviously, jobless numbers came in very good, and so now he has taken it off of us and putting it back onto the good numbers.
And a really good point there, Steve, when you just said the algos turned on. So if you look at your SP 500 future chart, you'll notice that right as Trump was concluding the presser, a ton of volume came into the market. Yes, market rallied, but kind of maybe more meaningful here was that volume. And Steve, you and I were talking yesterday, and you said, "Hey, I think that the algos might be like getting turned off tomorrow," meaning that when we have a lot of headline risk, when we have a lot of risk like this, algos maybe kind of pull back and let the humans sort of do it. And Spencer, you had some conviction in kind of like the price action that we saw overnight.
Right.
Overnight, we were trading around 32.30 in the S&P 500 futures. When we first started hearing these reports, S&P 500 futures fell all the way to 31.81. and came back and then some this morning. They took all of those losses back and then some. So like what does that price action mean for you, Spencer?
Well, so I'll just pull up a chart of the SPY here. I think the chart of the SPY is a little bit more interesting this morning. It shows this dramatic overnight shift, and
Right.
you see the sell off after hours yesterday, and then boom, gap, right?
Right.
SPY closes, right? Stocks close 8 p.m. Nothing. Open at 4 a.m. Boom, huge gap up, right back up to 322, which is where the SPY opened at 4 a.m. this morning in the pre-market session. And we talked about this on the pre-market show this morning. You almost never see sell-offs and reversals or rallies and reverse. You almost never see an overnight uh, sell-off or rally and then reversal in the
Right.
same session, right? Which is why last night was so unusual from a markets perspective. And we talked about this again on the show this morning, and I've never seen this, and Dennis and Joel, the host of the show, they've never seen this either. The market just completely reversed across the board. Stocks that went down went back up. The indices that were down were back up. Oil was up, it's back down. Right? I mean, you saw the trade reverse in a matter of hours, and like you said, Brent, we're back up at all-time highs here, which is kind of crazy. And to Steve's point, the everything was good, right? Everything was good.
Right.
It's why we ended the year at all-time highs. Everything was good. This was the first real this geopolitical situation here with Iran was the first real threat we had to the breakouts we've had to all-time highs going back a few months ago. The market passed the test.
Shrugged it off,
Fundamentally, nothing has changed with the market.
Right.
But all that's new is these tensions that weren't there 2 weeks ago or even a week ago are there now. Market doesn't seem to care, which is kind of crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, that's an interesting point, but I would say that venture say that 2007, 2008, we saw these jumps and these falls pretty much on a daily basis, right?
Right.
When the numbers would come out and that there was no volatility or no liquidity, bam, went down. The next thing you know, the Federal Reserve says, hey, we're going to put money in, boom, it goes back up. And you're right. But today, there's a whole different ball of wax here. We've not really gone through a warish type scenario with algos in a long time, especially with, I think Brent and I talked about this last night, is about social media has changed the whole dynamics of buying and selling, right? The last time we saw this kind of crazy buying was when Trump won the election. We have never seen this kind of buying and selling just on algos being flipped on and being flipped off. So I'm saying that it probably in the future, we're going to be very careful about anything that's being said or any kind of wartime or any kind of thing like this.
Yeah. What you were highlighting last night, Steve, was that, when Bush handled this stuff in the past, he would get in front of a presser, and that was the information. You couldn't go to Twitter, you couldn't go to the internet. So definitely, a challenge here with the new information age. If you ask me, I think it highlights the importance of having a news service like Benzinga Pro. We're really good at sifting through this noise. You can go on Twitter, and you can find a lot of this information that's being shared. We have a lot of good feelings about who we can trust and how we can dig a little further. So, and a question that we get asked a lot on the news desk, on the editorial teams, is where can I find this information? How do I find this information on your platform? And so if we're talking about Benzinga Pro, just to highlight a couple quick ways, one really good way to get quick updates on this information is obviously the Squawk. There's a button over on the left-hand side just says Squawk. You click the Squawk. Somebody will read you, one of our reporters here, Charlie, will read you the headlines out loud. If you just have your speakers on, if you just have your volume on, you can hear those updates. Another good way, of course, use that news feed. And a lot of times I get asked, how do I find this information in the news feed? There's a couple really good ways. You can use ticker SPY. It'll show you all of the macro headlines. The reporters on the news team will highlight any macro items as SPY. You can also use keywords in the newsfeed. You can use Trump, TRUMP, and you can see headlines that are coming out from Trump. And Spencer is showing us here how you can go about doing that. Any other quick comments, guys? Any other trading ideas that you want to make our users aware of here?
Yesterday, Brent, when we were starting to break the news with the Squawk and the actual news of the attack on the embassies or within Iran, we had that an hour before anybody else did. We had the Jerusalem Post, we had Twitter feeds coming out, we were translating that long before CNN or CNBC was actually putting it out there. So that's very important to have a platform like ours, Benzinga Pro.
The only thing I'll add is just as far as the market is concerned is there's really no other way to interpret this other than you have to be bullish for now, right?
Basically, until further notice.
Right. Until further notice, you
right.
have to expect that this trend of resiliency will continue to happen until one day it won't. And when will that day come? Nobody knows, obviously. But for now, there's you don't have a choice, essentially. You have to just expect there to be continued buying pressure. And I don't know how much of this is, personally, I'm curious how much of it is retail driven versus institutional driven. We don't know
right.
who's coming in here buying, right? But just the resiliency.
There it is. Really good way to
summarizes that you just have to, for now, you just have to expect buying the dip to happen every time, and then one day it won't, and then we'll know. But
I mean, back in the late 90s when we had the .com bubble, right? It was you could throw a dart at any .com stock and go straight up. We had the same problem with the cryptos not too long ago. If you change your name to Bitcoin or whatever, blockchain, all of a sudden the stock pops. So we're in another bubble here, no doubt about it. But you're right. When the wheel stops, we better be on the right side of this one.
I mean, you don't know how long this will go, right? So expect upside until we get some sort of sustained downside action. But we haven't gotten that for a long time. So
we need that follow through, Spencer.
That's all there is to it. That's all there is to say, really.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining here. A little special midday feature that we're hitting you with. This is something that we want to do more often, so definitely keep your eye out for this one. And shout out to Spencer Israel. He's producer of our pre-market prep morning show. It runs from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern time every single morning, Monday through Friday.
Right on this channel.
You can go to premarket.benzinga.com. You can also tune in, as Spencer just said, on YouTube. So from the Benzinga headquarters, I'm Brent Slava with Steve Orr and also Spencer Israel. Thanks for joining everyone. Later.